Patriotism versus pride. Have we reached peak pride? It's June. It's Pride Month. What companies, what leagues, what celebrities are posting their rainbows? But is patriotism actually the problem? So says The New Yorker, with Fox and Friends co-host Rachel Campos-Duffy. It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at the Will Cain Country YouTube channel, the Will Cain Facebook page, but always here, simply punch. Follow at Spotify or on Apple. Two-A-Days Dan, Tinfoil Pat, with us here today. What's up, fellas, and why today are we in a nondescript office building, one that would resemble the inner bowels of Severance? Tinfoil Pat.
I'm trapped in the back rooms, Will.
It's an online phenomenon.
Is that an online phenomenon?
It is.
Is that a meme?
Yeah.
Trapped in the back rooms, Pat?
Yeah, liminal spaces are all the rage, Will. And I clipped into them and am now trapped.
Interesting. Interesting how online you actually are. How much you live in a virtual world. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not aware of this online phenomenon. Trapped in the background, trapped in the back rooms. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Literally one of the top movies of the week is a movie called Backrooms, which embraces this phenomenon. So literally millions of people are going to see it, spending millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to see it, beating Grogu and The Mandalorian in the movie theater.
Never even heard of it.
And I'm the
Never
one
heard
who's
of
out of touch. Just saying.
It's just signs. There's signs out there that I'm getting old. Yesterday at AT&T Stadium, hanging out with DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin, touring the site of the World Cup semifinal, 9 World Cup games. Secretary Mullin walks in, first time I see him, and the first thing he says, his 2 observations. Are you wearing Wrangler Retros? I said, I am wearing Wrangler Retros. He said, I love Wrangler Retros. But then he went on camera to make fun of my jeans as skinny jeans with my boots. And that type of off-camera, on-camera nonsense does not fly well with me. You got to be complimentary on air if you're complimentary off air. You can't bust my balls on air while asking me what brand my jeans are off air. But the other thing that Mullin observed is he walked up to me, almost ran his fingers through my hair and said, what's happening here on the sides? He pointed out the incoming grays, which is not something that probably would have gone noticed by my friend Rachel Campos-Duffy, who joins us now, because I didn't have that just a few years ago when I was hosting Fox and Friends, which is a shocking thing to think about, because that's when you get up at, well, I got up at 4 a.m. Rachel gets up at 2:30 a.m. Pete Hegseth got up at 5:15 a.m. But that was hard, flying back and forth, hard on my body, hard on my life. So why is it now that I have this life with a 15-minute commute in Dallas that the grays are starting to come in at the age of 51?
Because at some point, Will Cain, you just get older.
Right.
More family time?
That's right. It's just can't take enough magnesium. Can't get to bed on time enough. Sooner or later, it happens. It just happens. I have guys that will say to me it's unnatural that at age 50 I'm not more gray. And so that's a good question. What age is it? Like, at what age are you expected to be gray? And when you're not gray, you are highly suspect of using enhancements. You are using a little just for men. If I'm fit, Sean's gray, Rachel. Sean's got gray. And Sean is 54?
Correct.
53, 54?
Yeah, that's right.
And so a man walks in at the age of 55 and he's not gray, highly suspect, right? That's highly, highly, highly suspect, just for men.
I think if you do it right, I think it's okay to, like, not go fully silver and just keep some of the brown in your hair or the blonde in your hair. I think there's a way to do it. You don't want to do where, like, it looks like your hair is black and it's obvious, but there's a way that men, done properly, you certainly have the resources to do this properly, Will Cain. You can get some help, and you can, sort of gradually, work, grow into the gray. But if it gets too much, kind of bring back a little bit of your brown and keep your youthfulness. I don't think it's a problem.
This is a shocking piece of news. Rachel Campos-Duffy endorses hair dye for men. I would never have guessed that you would say such a
Not
thing.
hair dye, but actually you could go and get it done properly at a salon where they can put it a little bit of it back in. But I'm not seeing any gray on you right now. Am I not? Am I crazy?
Well, this is why I'm always accused of dyeing my hair. You know how this works, Rachel. First of all, gray doesn't show up as much on camera. That's largely because of lighting, especially the lighting for Will Cain Country. When it's overhead lighting with a dark background, it makes everything darker. So that's just the way it is. It's not hair dye, it's television. But my wife would be opposed. She would be opposed to me coloring my hair. I would have assumed, Rachel, you would be highly opposed. So let's just go down this rabbit hole for a moment. Okay, so you endorse hair dye. What about Botox for men? Are you endorsing Botox for men?
Of course not Botox. But let me just say something. What's happened is you had the Mark Wayne Mullen treatment. So I don't know if you know, I've known Mark Wayne for a while. What Mark Wayne does is, because he's an alpha male, he'll come in and he's going to say something or do something to just kind of poke at your confidence a little bit so you understand who's the alpha male in the room. And so I can tell right now it worked. You're a little insecure now about the gray coming in your hair. I'm trying to say, don't worry about it. Sean walks into the room and Mark Wayne will say, you lost too much weight, your neck's too thin, you need to do neck exercises. This is the Mark Wayne treatment.
That's brutal.
This is incredible. That's exactly true. First of all, you may think that, and well, I guess it's actually true. It's banging around inside the skull. But he didn't knock my confidence. He can't get my confidence with that. The bar is much higher.
You're talking about it.
Get at my confidence.
You're still talking
which
about
I think
it.
Which I think is a sign of a lack of insecurity on the issue. But I mean, now that I know, okay, Secretary Mullen, game on. I didn't know we were doing the thing where we shake each other's hands and we see who can pull the other one in tight. That's the alpha male treatment.
Does.
Who grips
That's
hardest? Who pulls in tightest? Okay, fine. I know you could beat me in a wrestling match. I know that one of your ears is a little cauliflower. I know that you beat me in the Pete and Bobby challenge. I know that you could bench press me 25 times. But game on, Mullen. Game on. I didn't know that's what we were playing. Rachel, I'm not done. Filler. Do you endorse filler for men?
No, of course not. I think men should age naturally. But I think, if you're not ready to be a silver fox, there's a way. I'm just saying there's a way to gray a little more slowly if you're having, some insecurity problems. Like,
do you endorse GOP? Do you endorse GLP-1s for men?
I am very anti-GLP-1s for everybody. The rat's got thyroid cancer. I don't know what, this is going to be like fen-phen. Everybody is going to regret having taken this stupid drug, which doesn't teach you how to manage your weight. Look, I'm putting on a little bit of weight these days. And it's part of like getting older. And I could easily inject myself, and I'm not going to do it because I think it's not, I don't like these pharma solutions to the problem.
Okay. So therefore, do you not endorse testosterone for men?
No. I mean, listen, let's not have the testosterone conversation. We've had this many times, you, me, and Sean. Sean's testosterone is off the charts. It's off the charts. And by the way, I did see this study that said that chopping wood is the most testosterone. It is. It actually is. Look it up. Tell your producers to look it up. Sean has been chopping wood since he was 9 years old. He had to chop wood in his house. When I married him, we had a fireplace that required wood. and Sean was a young prosecutor, and he would come home from work and he would chop wood for at least an hour every day after work. And that's what he did. And I'm convinced that that's why, even at 54, his testosterone levels are off the chart.
I have an answer if we want from the study.
Yes.
Well, hold
Sure.
on. I buy it. I don't buy that chopping wood in particular or uniquely, but lifting weights
Okay.
raises testosterone. Anything anaerobic and requiring muscle investment lifts testosterone. So my suspicion is that chopping wood is in the same vein as doing squats. Like it's
No, no,
not
no.
going
I
to
think-
be more than doing squats. What, Pat?
This is better.
Okay,
Than,
well,
this is
let's-
better than like gym exercises though, because it's actually like something that you have to do. It's like if you
Right.
were to lift weight, you go pick up a big rock versus like just lifting
Something
in
in our
the gym.
DNA that wants to do that.
Yeah.
What does the data
your
say here?
hormones,
What
your
are you guys
hormones
reading?
respond. Your
Yes.
hormones respond to the primal
wired.
act of providing, as opposed to simply lifting
Right.
a 50-pound weight.
So
Correct.
the famous UC Santa Barbara study found that chopping wood triggers a massive hormonal spike. Anthropologists discovered that men chopping down trees for an hour experience an average testosterone increase of roughly 48%, significantly outperforming competitive sports.
So can I just say my two favorite things about this very moment we're in right now? One, Rachel says something crazy on its face, nonsensical and crazy. And
They turn out to be
Mediaite
right.
writes an article. And Mediaite writes an article. Rachel Campos-Duffy says chopping wood
Men's
raises
health med.
testosterone. LOL, ROFL, moron on Fox. And it turns out to be true.
It's true.
And my second thing that
Just so all of your
Go
viewers
ahead.
know, this was the history. What just happened right now, it could be like written in the Wikipedia of the Will Cain, Pete Hegseth, Rachel Campos-Duffy era of Fox and Friends. Crazy Rachel says something, and then it turns out to be right. Crazy Rachel, who refused to take the COVID shot, turned out to be right. Crazy Rachel, you name the conspiracy theory. It was a spoiler alert. I just had the balls to say it first, or the inside, or the gut. You know, I listen to my gut a lot. Will and I have had that conversation a lot. I think my superpower is I listen to my gut intuition, which has been right the majority of the time. And I was right to marry a lumberjack.
there's
I
nothing
was right
cockier.
to
You could
follow my
literally
heart.
say that's cockier than a snooty double Harvard, double Domer, whatever they call MBA undergrad. I'm the smartest guy in the room. There's nothing cockier than
smartest.
my gut.
I'm not the smartest.
No,
I'm the most in tune with my gut
no,
intuition.
I'm
My gut
suggesting you're the
intuition was-
cockiest.
I'm not the
my
cockiest.
gut.
I'm just saying, you guys looked at me so many times, hour after hour. I would say something, and you guys would look at me like I'm crazy. I still remember when we had the conversation at Bedminster with the president, and I was like, are you going to uncover, are you going to release the Epstein files? Are you going to release this? Are you going to release that? And you guys looked at me like I was off base. I think that was a great question in retrospect.
I think it was a great question. My other second favorite thing, and this is going to be evidence of the cockiness, is that while Dan was reading his chopping wood UC Santa Barbara research, Rachel gave the longest, slowest blink. While that was being unveiled, her victory was the longest, slowest confirmation, just this, real slow down, real slow up. I was
was
right.
right.
That's when her brain told her, once again, Rachel, you win. And she gave that really long, slow blink. Cocky.
I married a lumberjack, and that was great intuition as well.
And I'm Latina. And do you think that makes you, do you think that your intuition is unique to you, or is it all Latinas that have this intuition?
I think females have it in general. Maybe Latinas are just more likely to share it publicly and not be afraid to do that.
I disagree. Well, not with the second part, but with the first. I don't think that all females have this intuition. I definitely think that Latinas are more interested in sharing it publicly and immediately and loudly. But I don't think all females have this same level of intuition. I give you the stats on who's driving this country insane, and it is women, largely white women, largely single white women who are driving this country off the left side of the cliff. Hey, Rachel, okay, it's June. By the way, happy Pride Month. Do you think that are we on the mend? Have we reached peak pride? It was 3 years ago that the NFL would have posted this on their X account. An important reminder, football is for everyone. Happy Pride. Group pictures from presumably the people that work at the NFL. There are teams, the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe there's only 11 who haven't. The Philadelphia Eagles have posted Happy Pride. I saw yesterday a note that 11 NFL teams have declined to do so. Famously, only one baseball team had been doing this over the last couple of years. The Texas Rangers were the only ones not to acknowledge pride. So what do you think? Are we past peak pride?
Yeah, I think so. Remember when it was peak pride, Target was selling, baby onesie pride, day stuff. I believe Chip and Joanne from Texas were challenged, in fact, by me and others at that time, because they have products in Target. Are you going to say something? Are you going to do something? You have this wholesome brand that you're selling in Target. And, at some point, all of us have to get involved and have the courage to speak the truth and what's morally right. And there was, a movement within the Pride movement to make this go all the way down to children. And it was completely inappropriate. And by the way, I don't like the idea of a whole, Independence Day is one day. 4th of July seems like a much more important thing to celebrate. For Catholics, the month of June is the month of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and that's what we celebrate in June. May is the month of Mary. So I've never bought into any of this stuff. And when I was on The Real World, I remember going to a Pride parade back in 1993 with my gay roommate, and being really shocked at everything I was seeing there. Since then, it's gotten more and more debaucherous, but interestingly, more and more encouragement of including children and, and families coming down. And I've never understood that.
Yeah, so the headline right now from Outkick and Fox is the NFL's main social media accounts remained silent about Pride on its first day. So while 3 years ago I shared with you what they posted, this year they've yet so far posted nothing. And it does feel like we move post peak pride, in that when someone does post something, whatever brand is doing it right now, it feels so yesterday. And that's not a simple analysis. That's not a deep philosophical analysis. It just feels like, oh, you're still doing the thing that everybody did, whatever that thing was in 2015.
It's
and
like
it feels
when
real
Wes Moore
try-hardy.
did. Well, Wes Moore did that too. He was asked about, what if your son, it was like very recently, he was asked, what if your son wants to be, and he's 12 and he wants to transition. And Wes Moore was like, well, I would be respectful of his desire and I would help him transition. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds so 2020. Like, I thought you guys came to terms with this. Even Gavin Newsom is saying, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that. Rahm Emanuel, all the people who were on board with all the trans stuff earlier are now sort of saying, yeah, we probably made a mistake with that. But yeah, it does feel like another era.
And part of it is its own making, to your point. Like, it was just so debaucherous. It just got so, there's the children angle, and there's the angle, like, if you showed up to a Pride parade now, it's a celebration of not identity, but a celebration of basically sexual perversion, whatever you are into. That's where we got the images
100%.
of the dudes walking around in bondage, basically close to naked, people doing the animal thing, being walked around on a leash. It just got peak absurd. And that, it's interesting. It was so obvious in the moment that it is interesting, to your point about Wes Moore. Like, that shows a real lack of talent in him as a politician, not to be able to read the room. And say what you will about Gavin Newsom, but he can probably read a room.
Yeah.
He probably is always asking himself, what room am I in at any given moment? Am I in the right room where I need to say the right thing? But
Yeah.
he can read the given room.
And to your point,
what is
your point, Will, when he said that, when Gavin Newsom sort of went back and was like, yeah, we probably should think about the transport thing. He was, I think, on a conservative, he might have been on with Charlie Kirk, actually, when he said that, if I recall. And then not long after, he was in another room and he said the opposite. So yeah, he's kind of a chameleon. But the drag shows, remember the drag shows with the kids? I mean, normal people were like, only weirdo guys would want kids to come to a drag show in a library. Like, that's weird. And creepy and smacks of pedophilia and grooming and all this weird stuff. And I think we're finally over that part. We're seeing some of the hospitals that were providing, genital mutilization and so-called transitioning. A lot of those have been defunded, but and they're no longer. But yeah, this stuff was this weird fever came over our country, and normal people who were saying, you're a creep if you want to do a drag show in front of a 6-year-old, or you're a creep if you brought your kid to that drag show. And a lot of it oddly was a lot of, unstable women, unstable moms who wanted their kids to transition, wanted their kids to go to these drag shows. And so I do think we're turning the corner on that. But just like with the COVID insanity, we can't forget, they want us to pretend like these things didn't happen, and they did.
Right. But do you feel like that fever has broken just for things like pride? Because I yesterday had my conversation with Secretary Mullen, but I also spoke to Ken Cuccinelli. And what's fascinating is these protests outside Delaney Hall Detention Center, which you visited in New Jersey, show that their path right now, at least I think for the midterms, is they're really, really leaning in on immigration as a winning issue for them. And I would have assumed you could look at 2016, probably even 20, but 20 we all know is super weird, and 24 and say one of the biggest issues that led to a victory for Republicans was immigration. And yet Democrats look interested once again in saying this is our issue that we're going to try to run on. And race. So do you think the fever has only broken on pride? Or has it also broken and Democrats aren't reading the room on immigration and race?
I think the fever is broken on all kinds of woke fronts. And we'll talk later about my book, but I think part of why the whole patriotism and who is America, that's a whole other, you said 2020 was weird, but that's when we started to see George Washington statues, being defaced and brought down, and Plymouth Rock was defaced. And, so you saw there's all that as well. I think that the border, Trump is a little bit of a victim of his own success. The border has been closed. No one's coming back over that. The message has been sent to Latin America and the world. You can't get in here. And so what the left is doing is finding examples of maybe, somebody who's getting deported. They're not focusing on the ones that have, raped people or committed DUIs and killed people on the road. They're focusing on the things that will inevitably happen, which is at some point, somebody who's been here for 20 years and maybe hasn't done anything wrong other than cross the border 20 years ago. Although, a lot of them are committing tax fraud and all kinds of other things that we don't talk about. But, otherwise, nice people. And they're going to focus on that and say, see, these are the big bad Republicans. And some of the tactics that were used maybe were, not the greatest, or we advertised too much what we were doing that other Democrat administrations were doing quietly. And so they're just kind of taking advantage of, those aberrations in the system where, people get caught in it who aren't necessarily the bad hombres that we said we were going to concentrate on. But I don't think if you ran on, let's open the borders up Biden style, you're not going to win on that. The American people didn't want that. They're very happy, including a lot of Democrat Hispanics in Texas, for example, are very happy that the border is closed and that that's happened. But now the question is, what do we do with all the people that came over here? 20 million of them is my estimate during those years, who are not being assimilated into our culture, who never took a citizenship class. What do we do with them? And that's the question now.
So what does your female Latina intuition tell you about Spencer Pratt? Spencer Pratt's final pitch reads the headline, before mayor election, LA votes for Pratt or it votes for death. That's his final pitch. LA votes for Pratt or it votes for death. He's a unique politician, unique guy. I think I've interviewed him twice. I don't know if you guys have had him on. I think you have had him on Fox and Friends.
Yeah.
He has been likened to President Trump, and in many ways I do think it's appropriate in sort of his communication style. But what does your intuition tell you on Spencer Pratt?
So I've lived in LA when I was younger, and the deterioration of both LA and San Francisco is it's shocking, actually. And so and the Hollywood industry is being decimated because of the policies coming out of both the mayor, but also Governor Newsom. And so there is this feeling of the same kind of feeling Americans had in 2016 when President Trump was saying, what do you got to lose? It's true. What do you got to lose in LA? And this fire didn't just hurt middle-class neighborhoods, which it did, middle-class, working-class neighborhoods, but it also hit elite neighborhoods like the Palisades. And it is hurting the industry. And so I do think Spencer Pratt is a great communicator. I've been finding it very interesting as somebody who's been part of so many political campaigns with my husband, and the amount of money we had to raise to get a commercial up, the use of AI, which I'm not a big fan of AI, but the way that it's democratized and taken some of the money raising out of the campaign. This guy has, if you have a clever idea, it's not as expensive as it used to be to put your ad out there and get attention. And he's been very clever. Part of why I know that he could win, my intuition tells me he could win. The polling is showing that. CNN is saying he has a realistic chance of winning. And also I've noticed a pivot in his own message. So he's been really good about talking about the issues and sticking to the issues. And that's been sort of his secret sauce in winning over a lot of voters, including he has a lot of quiet voters like President Trump had, people who won't put a sign up, but will whisper to you that they're going to vote for Spencer Pratt. That happened all the time during President Trump's first election. But also I see him going really directly after Karen Bass and the fact that she's a communist, which I enjoy very much seeing done. I've been calling out this commie who was part of a youth brigade in Cuba when she was a kid. And I love how he's turned this around. Obviously, I'm sensitive to the attacks he gets on somehow being unqualified because he was in reality TV. President Trump was in reality TV. Sean Duffy, my husband, who I think has been the most effective and productive transportation secretary in our lifetime. And then, so when he says, yeah, in my 20s, I did a reality TV show. In her 20s, she was going to Cuba in this youth brigade and learning guerrilla tactics that she could bring back to destroy America and Los Angeles. Super effective message and clapping back on that. So I see him now moving beyond hey, I can get the fire hydrants filled with water. He's also exposing a lot of the corruption. People who were in charge of those reservoirs that didn't have water, making $700,000 a year. I mean, there's so much corruption. He's uncovered the homelessness complex, money-making NGO complex. So I think he's just been really effective. I think he's really good. He deserves a shot.
And to the point on reality TV, and the implication is he has no experience. Okay, so what? Do you want no experience or do you want negative experience? You have experience. Learn from experience with Karen Bass. Don't reward her for having done it and done it poorly. Try something new. Try Spencer Pratt. Rachel mentioned it. Her book, which has, where are you? 2?
No.
1, 3?
No.
Bestseller
3 right
list?
now, but I think we're going to climb to 1.
All-American Patriotism, Celebrating 250 Years of America's Greatness, number 3 on the bestseller list right now, Rachel Campos-Duffy. There is a headline right now, Rachel, up at the New Yorker. I read the whole article because I was curious, and the headline reads, "How Problematic is Patriotism?" The subhead says, "National pride in America has plummeted in the Trump era. Is it worth trying to salvage?" We're in this author, who's old, by the way. I only know that because I read the article and he talked about, I don't know, ages well gone by. Talks about, patriotism and is it really useful, and does anybody even know what patriotism is? He kind of said things like I talked about in your book. He talked about regional pride. He's like, it wasn't completely ignorant. He quotes de Tocqueville and others, but he's like, it's an abstraction, patriotism. But I kind of came away from it like, okay, what does that mean? And you've just written a book on this. What does that mean to be patriotic for America?
Well, first of all, his premise in that article is ridiculous. I mean, the decline of patriotism has been happening slowly but surely over the last, several generations. I think Gen X and older millennials are the very last generation to kind of be raised with this feeling of unabashed pride to be an American. And then as we got older, we learned about America's flaws, and which every country has. But we were raised to be unabashedly patriotic. And I think that's a really good thing. I sort of, the way I look at it, Will, is kind of like raising kids, right? If you have a little kid who's, 5, 6, 7 years old, and every day you tell them what all the parents' flaws, they're not going to learn to love that parent. They're going to eventually, every child eventually finds out that their parents are flawed. We're all flawed, right?
Right.
But what you need, an ordered childhood is one where the parent is sort of like, a reflection of God. And in a child's eyes, a parent should be, good and perfect and all those things in the early years. And then as the child grows up and sees those flaws, they're able to see those flaws through the prism of love, because they already understand that the first thing is I love my parents. And what has happened is when we started allowing the progressives to take over our universities, it wasn't as effective for them because so many of these kids had 12 years of loving America and learning all the great things about America and learning about our Constitution, our founders, and all these wonderful things. And then they got to college, and some of them got lost to communists, but many of them survived this indoctrination, right? This revisionist history, this Howard Zinn version of America. He's the guy who wrote A People's History, which basically looks at every single incident in American history through the prism of oppressor versus oppressed. And what they figured out is, and they used the teachers' unions to do this, and they used people like Bill Ayers, who went from, trying to bomb American and being a domestic terrorist, to electing Barack Obama and figuring out that if he could get this curriculum into K through 12, they could actually come out with social justice warriors, little Marxists, who were really primed to take the communist message to heart once they got to college. And that is exactly what happened. 60 to 80% of all American curriculum from K through 12 uses Howard Zinn. They use Howard Zinn. There's now, as you talk about turning the page, places like Texas and Alabama, some red states are starting to take this stuff out. And parents have gotten smarter, and they're sending their kids to, they're homeschooling them or sending them to classical schools to get, a real education. But we've allowed the Marxists, the progressives, the Bolsheviks to take our kids for 12 years and feed them, beginning with Columbus, he's a bad guy, all the way through to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, and say that they were racist and they were bad people who only did bad things, and the world would be way better if we never came and we never moved west and we never did all these things. And I think it's sad. I think that young people today, in the same way that they're rediscovering Christianity, I think they want to rediscover America. I really do. I think they look even just back at our childhood in the 80s and the early 90s, and they're kind of like, that seems like a really fun time where, you know, it wasn't so complicated and you could be a kid and love your mom and your dad and your country, and you could fly a flag, and people didn't think there was something shameful about that. They're sick of this narrative of shame about our country. And so what I loved about your chapter, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I really like the analogy to parenting. I really like it. And I think, I think the rebuttal from someone who disagrees would be, I think they would offer two. I think they would say, well, what the job of education is to teach the truth. And so if the flaws are the truth, then teach the truth. And, okay, that's right. That's okay. But you're also not teaching the truth. Look, the truth of your parents, while you discover that they're flawed, is your parent is also someone who loves you and is doing their best, and is going to be one of the few people in this world that has your back all the way to the end. Your father is famously said about the relationship between a father and a son. Your father is the only man in this world that you're ever going to meet that hopes you're better than him. The only one, not your best friend. Your best friend won't meet that standard. Only your father will meet that standard. And so there's an ultimate truth there about the nature of the love. And if you say, what is the ultimate truth about America? It is going to be positive. The flaws that are also true do not undercut the ultimate truth about America. And so you learn the ultimate truth first, and then you layer in the complexities as you go.
That's right. You would never, for example, you would never, I mean, things are age appropriate. I mean, we've lost a sense of that. You started the conversation, by the way, you know, talking about these progressives that want to sexualize children. There is something age appropriate about how you introduce the history. And first of all, you don't have to dig very far to find all the good stuff. I mean, it's not like we're hiding. By and large, American history is positive. The whole idea of the founding is enough to
overwhelmingly
make you America. What?
Overwhelmingly positive. The flaws that we have are real, and they are by a multitude worse in almost every other society on earth.
Absolutely. And our founding is the most remarkable thing that happened since Jesus Christ was born. That the fact that we said we don't need a monarch, we don't need a state, our rights, you know, to tell us our rights. Our rights come from God. The purpose of the state is to secure those rights, to make sure we have the ability to pursue happiness. I mean, all the things that are laid out there. I mean, in your chapter, you talked about how you fell in love with America again when you went to law school. But we should be teaching, you know, the basics at that level. But it's not just that we're not telling the beautiful thing. It's not just that we're not telling the beautiful things about America. We send our kids to public schools where America is denigrated the whole time, and they omit everything about socialism, communism, which has led to 20 million dead, oppression, poverty, death, starvation. We don't even tell that story. There's a complete blackout. And that's why I've always said, you know, on the show, I'm always like, if you're not talking to your kids about socialism, somebody else is. They are saying all the beautiful things about socialism. You will never hear, you know, communism and socialism and the realities of it and the hellscapes they create talked about in public schools. But they'll spend all kinds of time, you know, discussing only the negative about America. You introduced me to a book, by the way, Empire of the Summer Moon. That was a book that you were reading. You said, Rachel, it's great. I read it. I was riveted by it. And what you learn when you read that book is, first of all, I didn't know a lot about Texas history. I'm totally mesmerized by it. And I want to read more about it. I didn't understand what the Texas Rangers were. I didn't understand any of that stuff. I didn't get any of that stuff when I was in grade school and high school, even in college. So I learned so much reading this book, and I've started to dig in more to it. But what you get when you read that book isn't just that, you know, you read about the things that the white people did to the Indians, but oh my gosh, what the natives did to the white people too. I mean, you get it's raw,
and to each other. And to each other. Yeah.
And to each other. And
Yeah.
so there's this whitewashing, because if you get a Howard Zinn version of history, white guys are always the bad guys. The settlers are always the bad guys. The natives are the good guys, and it's not balanced anyway. So again, I think Howard Zinn, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, she's a product of that. That's why we have what we have now, which is a collapsing of American patriotism.
Right.
And until we get back our curriculum from the teachers' unions and the Marxists and the Bolsheviks, we're gonna continue to turn out kids that don't really understand who we are as a country.
The other rebuttal that somebody would offer you, and the reason I don't want to gloss over it is because I think it's on point, is, okay, they'd start with their own personal experience. They'd look at what you and I just had to say and go, well, that wasn't my relationship with my parents. My parents didn't love me. They didn't treat me right, whatever. They had a negative experience. Mm-hmm. But they're arguing from exception, right? Their experience is real and is true, but it is the exception, and that's why we know it's wrong. There's this famous, I think it's Matt Walsh arguing with someone about transgender, and they're like, what's the definition of a woman? And then it's like an argument about, well, not all women can have a baby. It's not defined by your ability to reproduce. So therefore that opens up the doors, and it could be anybody, right? And he's like, well, no, just because there are some women that can't have a baby doesn't show that that's not what defines a woman, because we, by our very nature, know that something has gone wrong when you can't have a baby. We know that. And by acknowledging that something has gone wrong, we are also acknowledging what the normal course of things is. So when you acknowledge that, whatever your relationship with your parents wasn't good and was abnormal, we're acknowledging that the normal relationship goes a certain way. Now, here's why I'm using your parenting analogy back to America. I think that's the same thing, for example, with the relationship between Black Americans and America. Yes, that was not done well. Yes, that was done very poorly. Right. Yes, that was a betrayal of our very own values. That is something we have to reconcile with, but also highlights that the normal course of establishing rights and the acknowledgement of rights in America is what was the normal thing to do. It was the bad. It's in the parenting thing. It's like, unfortunately, you got the abnormality, and we have to reconcile with that in America.
Right.
But doesn't undercut the project.
No, I mean, and it also doesn't undercut the men who founded this country. I mean, every child in America should know how remarkable each and every one of them was. That this really, I mean, when you really look at the story of how this country came together, you have to believe it was divine plan. I mean, there are too many factors that could have gone wrong, that brought these brilliant men together and formed this document and formed all these things that allowed us to become who we are, and the bravery it took. I mean, all of them were committing treason when they signed the Declaration of Independence. None of them ever renounced having signed that. None of them ever reneged on it. They lost their fortunes. Their families were imprisoned. All kinds of awful things happened to them for doing this. And our founding is an example to the world. I mean, this is the most coveted citizenship in the world, even with all the negative things people say about us right now. It is still the most coveted citizenship in the world. And one of the reasons is there's a certain spirit. You can't actually, it's not in a paper, but you can't, I feel like this book actually captures it. I call it the spirit of 1776. You call it our go for it attitude. There is something very different about Americans and Europeans, and as homogeneous as the world has become because of Starbucks and everything else, all the things you and I complain about all the time on the couch in between commercials about how we want America to remain regional and the world to remain, not homogenized by corporations and all that stuff. But there is a difference between Europeans, for example, and Americans. In America, if you have an idea and you have a plan and you talk about this in your chapter, people will always go for it. They're so optimistic. They're so yeah, you can do that. How can I help? And in Europe, when people have ideas, I don't know if it's a remnant of the class structure around, that they used to be monarchy. I don't know what happened in Europe, but I see it because I have European relatives still living in Spain, and they're just, they see the limits. They see the limits around
Yeah.
themselves much more than any American ever does.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, that is something I talk about in my chapter with Rachel's book. She's interviewed a lot of different people within the Fox News world about their vision of patriotism, their vision of America. It's number 3 on the bestseller list already. All American Patriotism, celebrating 250 years of America's greatness. Hey, are you going to the UFC fight on the White House lawn?
I am. Are you?
I think as of yesterday, the answer is probably.
Do it.
Why did you call Trump?
That would be... No, I didn't go straight to Trump. I went somewhere else first. You would have been on the list. It wasn't Mullen. I didn't ask.
But you can call. You can call Trump. You have the ability to call.
I don't
Trump.
want to call the president. I don't want to call it. You can probably guess where I went, Rachel.
I know where you went.
But I mean,
We will see each other. That'll be fun.
It'll be real fun. Yeah. And my last
We
question
should
for
come
you,
back.
I forgot.
Come back, Will, to the Grand Prix that Sean is doing in August. That is going to be remarkable. Can I tell you, the last time there was a race around the Capitol was when Thomas Jefferson, I believe on the 20th or 25th anniversary of America, he said, we're going to, in honor of America, we're going to have a race. And it was a horse and buggy race. He was a horse guy.
Really?
And so, yeah, this is a true story. And so Sean and Fox Sports and the Penske family, which is amazing, Roger Penske, they said, we're going to do it. And there is going, they are closing off the streets. It's going to be, 200 miles an hour in front of the Supreme Court. You're welcome to come and join Sean and I. It's going to be a
Awesome.
remarkable, amazing event.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you on that. I got to move a kid into college this August, so I don't know when this falls. My last question, Rachel, and I was going to ask you in succession, and I forgot this last one. And I don't know what your answer is going to be on this one. Okay, she endorses Just for Men. She does not endorse GLP-1. She does not endorse Botox. She does not endorse testosterone.
I said no Botox for men. I said no Botox for men.
Okay, quick clarification. Okay. Where are you, Rachel, on peptides?
I don't really know enough about it. I keep hearing peptides this, peptides that. I don't even know what the hell it is.
Okay, I did a whole show on it.
What is it?
They're everywhere.
But what is it?
Well, I did a whole show on it, and I still don't fully understand it. But peptides. God, I don't even know where to jump off. What are they? They're not.
It's a GLP-1
hormones.
essentially.
Well, no, a GLP-1 is a GLP-1 is a peptide, but not all peptides are GLP-1s. Do you see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So they have peptides for everything. They have them for skincare, recovery. I think there's some that can actually help with like muscle building, but it's not steroids. I don't know. It's very, 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 very trendy. A lot of people are in on it. And I think it works. Like, I think that people are looking better, feeling healthier. Like, there's so many different peptides. You could do all these different combinations of them.
Are there long-term effects to it, like the GLP-1
Well,
stuff?
I don't think people don't know. People don't know.
Why would people?
Yeah.
This is just like with. Okay, Fox News alert here. I've never been on birth control. I've never been on, GLP-1. I never took the COVID shot. Why? If there's no long-term studies, why would I put this shit in my body?
Well, there's no long-term studies on this, and I've been doing it I am the long-term study on nicotine.
Are you talking about Zen? That Zen is bad for you. I just saw, I'm sorry, it's bad for you. I just saw Paul Saladino, who I really, really respect as a doctor, and they broke down all the crap that's in there. Why do you want to put that in your body? There's chemicals in there. It's not like you're not like some Indian chief, having natural tobacco here. You're getting like
tobacco causes cancer. Nicotine doesn't cause cancer.
But my point is, there's nothing natural about what you're putting in there. It's not good for you. I'm a naturalist.
I think my lifespan. I've already outlived most of the Indian chiefs, don't you think? At least from the 1800s. I think I'm ahead of the Indian chiefs.
I think the problem with Americans in general when it comes to health and nutrition and all that is that they don't listen. I mean, the future is in the past. Go natural. Everything as natural as possible. When it comes to what you're doing and ingesting into your body. I think that's just probably a good,
except for
good rule of
Botox.
thumb.
Except for Botox for women. Trust her gut. Look for her inconsistencies. Okay, I know this game. I've a lot of experience. Rachel Campos-Duffy. The book is All American Patriotism, celebrating 250 years of America's greatness. Hope to see you in a couple weeks, Rachel. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and thanks for promoting the book. It's a great Father's Day gift, and it's also a great gift for a grad. Give him the check, but give him the book too, because I think they need a dose of patriotism with that graduation check.
I agree. All right, Rachel, take care. See you soon. All right. Who helps America go further, fly higher, dream even bigger? People do. Since 1879, our people have been more than a source of energy. They've been a source of progress. Today, that same progress is helping deliver record U.S. energy production, fueling the workers, the makers, the boundary pushers, and risk takers who spark the breakthroughs that move America forward. Learn more about what our people do at chevron.com/USA 250. All right, tinfoil Pat, 2 days down. I want to hit a few other things here before we go. That went a lot longer than I anticipated with Rachel. Yeah, it was great. Absolutely. Let's do this really quickly. So, because I talked about this a year ago, and it's back because we're in jury selection right now. Later this week, we'll have opening arguments in the trial of Carmelo Anthony. Not the NBA star, Carmelo Anthony. You'll remember Carmelo Anthony was the Frisco, Texas teenager who at a track meet stabbed another high school track star, Austin Metcalf, killed him. In the wake of that, Carmelo Anthony's black, Austin Metcalf was white. The family raised $600,000 in donations. It immediately, this is one of those that seems, it's just kind of hard to, it immediately became a national race story. And it's just kind of hard because it's a criminal story, right? I mean, it's got facts. It's got circumstances. You can add it up. The race of the two individuals involved do not matter to the facts of the case. And yet it becomes a story through the lens of race nationally. Why are you making that face? You think the race of the two individuals does matter to the facts of the case?
I think
Patrick?
it could play a role. I think it could play a role. I think it became, and that's how they were able to raise so much money as well, because it became a race issue.
No, but that's after the fact. I'm talking about go to the track meet that day.
Yeah.
And maybe there was racial tension between those two guys. I don't know.
Right.
We don't know what was said. Well, we don't know what was said, but it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't change the outcome of the case. Like yesterday, my friend who's a defense attorney was on the Will Cain show, and he's like, inside that courtroom, race will not play a role. Like, it doesn't matter to the facts of the case.
It will,
look,
to people.
O.J. Simpson
it
case.
will. Well, the way that
maybe
race became a thing inside the O.J. Simpson case was through the lens of what's the cops?
Furman.
Mark Furman. Yeah.
No, but even the jury selection, like the jury is selected,
exactly.
and like
Yes.
certain people are going to look.
No, I'm not rebutting that. I'm talking about
The facts of the case.
But you're down the road, Patrick. I'm talking about the facts of the case. What played out that day at the track, right? That's what I'm talking about. Carmelo Anthony's, I think the facts go like this. Under a tent, the tents are set up team by team by team, so he's not in his team's tent. He's under another tent. Austin Metcalf says, get out. I think, as I read this morning, Austin Metcalf may have shoved him. I don't know if he shoved him before or after. Anthony said, put your hands on me and see what happens. And he's got his hand inside of his backpack. Some point, Metcalf shoves him. Anthony responds directly with a knife to the chest. Kills him. Okay, that equation of facts that I just gave you, race is not involved in that at all. And even if you said race was involved, even if you said Austin Metcalf said something racist, it doesn't matter to the facts of the case. It doesn't matter to what unfolds.
Right.
Right?
You don't deserve to die.
So the case will be, the actual case will be about self-defense. Carmelo Anthony, they suggest, is going to claim self-defense. Well, again, race has no role in that. So it's going to be, even if Metcalf shoved him, you don't get a self-defense claim by responding with a lethal force.
Yeah.
You don't. You pull out a knife. Yeah, it's proportional force on self-defense. So, yes, now race, then it becomes, at this point, Patrick, that's it. That's it, 1 year ago. And it becomes race, okay? At that point. Why? Because there's a black kid and a white kid? That's it? That's the only reason? Like, why did this become a national race story? I find that pretty fascinating. Why was this a cause to rally behind for $600,000 for people on the basis of race?
If he had said a racial epithet, then I think it would have been, but we don't know that.
We at least would have had more evidence and understanding of how people would have reacted, but we don't even have that.
Right.
I'm just saying, in the South, there are a lot of certain racial tensions that exist, and we don't know what kind of role that played in, people being under certain people's tents. It could have been more than just like this team versus this team. It could have been
ongoing
racial elements to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Between teams. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure, by the way, there'll be facts about, like, I remember at the time there was some questions about whether or not these two guys knew each other before. They went to different high schools. Did they know each other before? Had they had an interaction on social media or in real life? But now, fast forward, me saying all that, Patrick, I feel like you were jumping ahead a little bit, because what I'm telling you is it becomes this national story, I think, a national story about race, I think inexplicably, but it is what it is. It becomes that. And now it will play a role. Yes, it will be in jury selection. That was my question, like, to Shapiro. Like, the defense is going to try to get as many black people on that jury as possible. That's just obvious, right? Mm-hmm. And then this is going to become something where it's like, no matter the facts of the case, it becomes about whether or not you're on team black or team white.
Didn't they say they had footage or something? Like
totally tragic.
Like the defense.
Yes, they have footage.
What?
They had footage, right?
Yeah, I think the footage doesn't. I asked that yesterday. I don't think it shows as much as people think it might show. Yeah.
Because the defense thought they had a reason to believe that he was doing it in self-defense, but
I wonder how big this case is going to get nationally.
Because of that big. Because
of the way it was a year ago, because they raised $600,000. They got a really high-powered defense attorney. And when you have nothing else, what are you going to be able to claim besides race? How are you going to bring race into that courtroom besides jury selection?
But
what's that going to be like nationally?
But either way, everyone can agree that, the kid didn't deserve to be stabbed to death, no matter what he said, no matter what happened. He didn't have a weapon.
No, apparently everybody can't agree with that. That's the point.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
They should be able to. It's an insanity. Whether or not he gets like a lighter sentence or whatever, he still killed the kid. I just don't get it.
All right, and finally, lastly, several artists have pulled out of the America 250 celebration. I'm going to need your help remembering who all of them are. Bret Michaels, Martina McBride, the CNC Music Factory, if I remember correctly.
Having a comeback.
They're suggesting, Martina McBride and some are suggesting that it's more nakedly partisan than they were promised it would be. Bret Michaels of Poison.
Vanilla Ice is not.
Is saying something different. Bret Michaels, what is he saying, Patrick? He's saying that he pulled out because of threats. Yeah, threats that are completely unfounded and unforgivable. Because of that, I've made the difficult decision to step away from this performance. From the left, he's getting threats for participating. Is what he's saying?
That's what he claims. We also unfortunately lost Morris Day of Morris Day and the Time. It's devastating. And Young MC. Oof. And the Commodores. Devastating.
Trump had a little meltdown though after.
Vanilla Ice is in.
Vanilla Ice is
in.
Dan. He's the man. We love Vanilla. Mr. Ice.
Didn't Trump put a post out saying, "I guess I'm going to have to bring out the greatest act of all time, even bigger than Elvis himself."
Dude, I mean, you
He's
got
gonna
to
give a speech.
The guy's nothing but consistent. I mean, he just kind of like has these little meltdowns whenever something gets, in trouble, what he's trying to do. But god damn, it's hilarious.
It's a shame that all these artists are pulling out.
Like, why wouldn't a Kid Rock and all these people step in? I don't like. What is the thing? You would think they would get kind of.
I know, but
bigger
can you use Kid Rock and Lee Greenwood at every one of these things?
Yeah, but I mean, but even just in that vein, like someone. Not that these people aren't big, but like a Jason Aldean or I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? You would think these guys would jump at the chance. I mean, plus we're celebrating America. We're not celebrating Trump. That's what people are forgetting. People think it's a Trump rally. We're celebrating America. It's America 250. So I think we can all come together and agree with that.
Who would you want to see chat in the in the YouTube chat in the comments? Like, who would you want to come in? Let's get creative here. Like, think about it, okay? Like, I would, even though technically, according to the original agreement, the Leonard Skinner would be a great addition. For example,
Sure.
One of the greatest American songs of all time, "Freebird."
I mean, Trump walking out to Freebird live would be sick.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Who would you want to see, Will?
Who would I want to see?
Yeah.
Probably a bunch of country
As part
bums.
of this?
Ella Langley.
Gosh.
Snoozeville.
Who would I want to see? Well, by the way, I made a social media post the other day on Instagram.
I know.
Because I went to that Real American Freestyle Wrestling, and I was trying to figure out what song to put on that. And it's kind of in the same vein. Patrick was like, what is a rock and roll Americana or America song? And you would think there's a lot, and there is, I'm sure.
Creedence.
But it's not as easy as, you think about but like Fortunate Son actually isn't a patriotic song.
Sounds like
Same thing with Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. Actually, not patriotic. That, by the way, Real American Freestyle was awesome. No company man talk. It was awesome. It is, just in case you don't know, and we had Colby Covington on last week, it is wrestling, professionalized. And this is where it always gets, not professional wrestling, not WWE.
Like mat
Real wrestling.
on the mat.
Yes. And then these guys are getting paid, so professional. Produced up. Eric Bischoff from WCW and WWE before that.
Did you meet Bischoff?
Is involved in it. Huh?
Did you meet Bischoff?
I didn't meet Bischoff, no.
Okay.
No.
You probably met Chad.
I met John Jones.
John Jones?
I met Chad. And
Okay.
I met John Jones. Yeah, that was the first post.
John Bones Jones.
By the way, John Jones, super nice. Took my son and a couple of his friends. When John Jones came in, they about lost their mind. Dad, please, can we get a picture with him? Can we get a picture with him? I was like, play it easy. Let's see. And we did. And he took a picture with every single person that asked. Multiple. He was so nice to everybody. One of the most magnanimous celebrities I've ever. And it's funny how some people don't know who he is.
Isn't it? Like they can turn it on and off. Like when they go into that
calling him out
mindset.
Not
they're
everybody.
Like stone cold killers. No.
But
I'm
not everybody's
thinking
that nice to
athletes.
everybody wanting to take a picture with them. I mean, he is in rare company of guys, I would say, that were that magnanimous to fans. And it's funny how many people have said to me, I don't know who that is. I'm like, you don't know who John Jones is? Like, isn't it fair to say
Jones?
the greatest MMA fighter of all time?
Yeah.
Easily. The most recognizable.
Most recognizable
I think he's
name, too, yeah.
more than Conor McGregor, right?
I'm surprised your son and his friends know who he is.
It's him or McGregor in terms of fame, but just greatest. He's the greatest.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
easy.
So I don't know what song, I don't know what artist, but I think Patrick's right. Jump into the chat on YouTube, jump into the chat wherever you are on social media, and let us know Who should jump in for these artists that are dropping out of America 250? All right, that's going to do it for us today here on Will Cain Country. We hope you will follow us on Spotify or Apple. We appreciate you hanging out. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll see you next time.